Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Greg Marshall is my name from the College of Arts, Law and Education, and I'm very pleased to welcome you all here tonight. And with me is Associate Professor Marcus Morse. And I'd like to begin by acknowledging the Indigenous peoples of all the lands that we're on today. While we meet today on a virtual platform, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the importance of the lands which we all call home. We're very excited. We have a new course which Marcus will present to you. Whilst we have been allocated an hour for this session, we will go as long as we need to. So I'll hand over to Marcus shortly, who will present the outline of the course and the opportunities. And then we'll open up to Q&A at the end of that session. Just in the interest of privacy, we have muted all microphones, and there is no cameras, so we don't know who you are, but we're very keen to hear your questions. You can submit those in the Q&A button at the bottom of the webinar dial, and I will attend to those. Whatever we don't get through, you would be more than welcome to contact us directly, and we can provide those contact details at the end of the session. So Marcus, without further ado, thank you for your time, and looking forward to hearing about the courses.
Right, thank you, Greg. Yep, so my name is Marcus Morse, and I'm in the School of Education, and really this has been something we've been putting together for a few years as a great opportunity. So I'll start share a slideshow here, and then go from there. Right. So yeah, just first of all to acknowledge, thank you for taking the time to come. Absolutely fantastic. I'm sure there's a fairly diverse audience. So I'm going to run through the nuts and bolts of the courses, but a little bit of background around them as well. And then, as Greg said, we'll take some questions at the end. So just want to kind of make this. Yep, here we go. Great. So really, we are very excited about the new courses, really, and there's actually 3 new courses starting next year in outdoor and environmental education, and we see it as a real opportunity. There's been a great growth in outdoor learning and outdoor education around the world, and Australia's been part of that through things like bush kinders, forest schools, but also outdoor education programs and learning in high schools, primary schools, and all the way through. And there's even at a university here as well, there's programs all the way through to the benefits of natural environments for older people and dementia, but also a lot of work in terms of adventure and nature-based tourism as well. So we see it as a very diverse, multidisciplinary course. We have a strong background here in Tasmania. Tasmania's, world recognised for its kind of natural and cultural assets, I think. So I can't think of a better place anywhere in Australia and probably anywhere in the world really to run these types of courses. And we really are hoping to attract people from around Australia as well as just in Tasmania into these kind of pathway courses. And there is a strong Year 11 and 12 presence in Tasmania. There's actually 3 Year 11 and 12 outdoor education courses, including the outdoor leadership level 3 course. So that's a great kind of development in Tasmania as well. It's also a really strong outlook in Tasmania for nature-based tourism. It's certainly part of the Tasmanian government and tourism's 2030 approach, and we can see it a lot further than that. So it's a real kind of growth area and a growth industry, I think, for jobs, both nature-based guiding, but also outdoor and environment education, and also in the area of cultural and natural heritage officers and rangers, things like that as well. So there's a great it's good growth in that kind of area around Australia, but again in Tasmania as well. And I think we really see it as a gap in the market, not only in Tasmania, but there are a limited number of these kind of courses around Australia, probably half a dozen courses that have got some similarities with this type of course. But so for many students, even on the mainland, they're actually moving to come to a course in a different place. So why not come to Tasmania and experience the University of Tasmania and also these kind of learning spaces that we've got here as well. So we do see that as a huge kind of bonus in Tasmania, and something that probably really is quite distinctive about Tasmania, and that's when we think about outdoor education and outdoor environmental education, we're thinking kind of beyond as well, a little bit of the kind of traditional just outdoor education that we might think about, and thinking about it as a kind of a much broader approach to education, which we hope will have an impact, particularly in Tasmania, but further afield as well. And a friend of mine's got a great analogy, I think, really. For a lot of schools in places like Europe, they have access to museums and European art and these kind of learning environments, and it becomes part of the way that they actually teach in schools. But in Australia, and particularly in Tasmania, we have access to these incredible outdoor places and outdoor areas with Indigenous stories and Indigenous kind of knowledges and understandings as well that are far older than the kind of things that are available in Europe. We have, incredible ecology, temperate rainforests, unbelievable mountains and coastal regions and rivers, but also just local environments that we can learn. I mean, a lot of the places where we live, Launceston, Tasmania, East Coast, West Coast, all of these Northwest Coast, these places just have access to incredible sites for learning, very close to schools. I can't think of many places with better school sites anywhere I've been as well. So really want to make use of those kind of areas and work in that. And it's really about trying to work with students in schools potentially with a different kind of approach to education, which includes this outdoor learning, but also tries to engage students for a different type of experiential learning through schooling, which we hope in the longer term will kind of engage students for longer at schools and provide a different set of kind of pathways, I think. So that's really the background, I think, to where we've come from. And it really is about place first. So where we might think about outdoor education as being adventurous and kind of having, abseiling and climbing and kayaking and things like that, we're certainly involved in those kind of things, and we work with those, I guess we call them activity areas, but really we're adopting a kind of place first approach where we're saying the first thing we do is to think about the place where we go to be able to work with our students, but also so they can work with students in the future or with guides and tourism as well, to actually go to the place and see what the place has to offer. What can the place actually teach us? What can we work with at the place? What stories are available, whether it's kind of Indigenous knowledges or whether it's introduction to place through geology, geography, those kind of things, flora, fauna, just taking notice of things. And this kind of an attempt to have a kind of education in schools which really pays attention not only to the people that we're with, but the places that we're in, and understands things differently in a way that engages students and really encourages them to learn quite deeply. So that's the kind of idea, and it fits in very well, I think, with a kind of place-based approach that the University of Tasmania is working with. And we really hope that this course will be a kind of standout, unique and distinctive kind of course for the university, but really for the students who come and are able to develop a particular approach in this place over the kind of long term. Really working with ideas in education about and nature-based guiding as well, paying attention, curiosity, connecting with place and being able to tell stories as well. That's what we think is really valuable and engages people in place. And the last thing I just want to talk about here as well is this idea of possibilities. You'll see what I'm going to talk about when it comes to the structure of the courses, that we are hoping to also encourage a variety of pathways into these courses for students who might not otherwise potentially choose to be at university. So it might attract students who are keener to learn with kind of experiential learning, outdoor learning, but can also see different pathways in, but also different pathways out, and ones that don't necessarily lock them into a particular thing. So with these pathways, we're thinking about 3 different courses which are nested together, and I'll talk about the structure in a moment. But the first one is a Diploma of Nature-Based Guiding, which is a year course. That's nested inside a 3-year course, the Bachelor of Outdoor and Environmental Education. And in turn, that's all kind of been nested with the Master of Teaching course over 4 years or 5 years if you choose to do them separately. So I guess we're trying to encourage students to come in to develop throughout the course, and then at the end of first year and at the end of second year, kind of readjust, think about where they might be heading in terms of their own future possibilities, their own careers, and what they would like to get out of it. So it starts with a fairly general approach, and then you really choose the direction that you would like to head in after that. I just say I probably am going to talk for about 20 minutes. I'm keen to kind of just put some information out there, and I think then we'll be able to have a good conversation after that. So where could it lead? It's a multidisciplinary course. It really looks probably in three key areas. The first one is the idea of education. So graduates will come out and work as instructors with schools, as educators, as community educators for sustainability education, but also outdoor instructing or adventure instructing roles with schools as well. The 3-year course, the kind of central piece of this course, doesn't include a full kind of initial teacher education. It doesn't qualify you for teaching or teaching the option of having teacher registration. That requires an additional Master of Teaching afterwards, and that's the way it is with all general undergraduate degrees. But we do provide a very clear pathway in this course so that when you're finished, all students will have 2 strong teaching areas, so they'll be eligible for the Master of Teaching. And we've also provided some good elective spaces so that if students do think, oh, yes, I'd really like to teach in a different area, then they're able to do that as well. The other area that we're really focusing on is nature-based guiding. We would like to see really Tasmania become a hub for that. And I think there's strong impetus within tourism to do that as well. We're very close to a lot of ships that depart for Antarctica. We have incredible tourism inside Tasmania already that's been developing for a long time and is kind of world-class and world-leading, really. And we'd like to work with that, provide opportunities for our students to learn in place with some of those nature-based guiding and adventure guiding areas. And that's a strong kind of focus where, again, we'd like to see people coming from around Australia to come down and see this as a kind of central place to come and learn about nature-based guiding. And that's a real central hub for Tasmania. And the third part is where we see this course and where other courses in a similar kind of nature, often students will develop a real, take that passion, I guess, for outdoor learning and end up in a kind of, could be a parks ranger role, or it could be a kind of natural cultural heritage officer role or something like that, or interpretation within a government, or sustainability education. So that's the kind of third area where we see potential career outcomes, or we have mapped the potential career outcomes. And all of these areas are really strong growth areas in Tasmania, but also Australia as well, and really around the world at the moment for many of them. And I mean, potentially, post-COVID, we are seeing a real, increased awareness of outdoor learning, but also outdoor nature-based guiding opportunities as well. So example of career outcomes, really looking in the kind of education front, both within schools and outside schools, adventure and nature-based guiding for a range of activities, but also with an approach to how to work in an educational way and an interpretive way to really share stories about a place, which is the way that a lot of tourism is travelling at the moment as well. There's the opportunities for parks rangers and cultural officers as well, and that's certainly on the increase across Australia. And then natural resource managers working with NGOs or water managers, things like that as well. Certainly a degree like this really offers you an undergraduate degree and a way into those kind of jobs and those kind of job areas. So they'd be the key kind of career outcomes that we're aiming at. So in this next section, I've just covered the kind of the setup for the 3 courses, and you can see how they might slot together. There is a 1-year diploma of nature-based guiding, which, as I've said, nests into the next one. And then I think the third one is potentially incredibly exciting. It's the only setup of its kind in Australia when it comes to outdoor education and Master of Teaching in 4 years. And really, again, when I talk about those kind of future possibilities, it doesn't matter where you come in, option 1, 2 or 3, you can end up proceeding at the final kind of option as well, if that's what you'd like to do, or take a different kind of exit pathway. So I'm going to talk about the 3 options, but I'm going to start with the central option because it really is the core and the thing that the earlier one and the later one kind of hang off. So the Bachelor of Outdoor and Environmental Education is a 3-year multidisciplinary degree. It's new. Many of the subjects have been written specifically for it. There's around about 14 new subjects which have been written for it. Some of those will be available as electives to other areas, but really what we're looking for here is kind of putting together a cohort of a cohort of students who are undertaking a similar set of experiential subjects, working together, vast majority of it face-to-face, and having a particular experience as they travel through the entire degree, really. I think probably key to it really is this love of the outdoors and a real desire to share the natural world with other people, whether it be primary school, early childhood, working with adults, working with high schools, or potentially working with older people as well. But we're really looking for opportunities for students who have that passion, like learning experientially, to be able to learn like that in a way in higher education, but also to be able to, not only in learning how to in actually doing it in higher education, being able to share it with others through education in whichever kind of format they choose to work with and with whichever age group they choose to work with. And for many students, it will be in schools, but we're really looking for that kind of passion to turn that around. The overall course has got 100 days of field trips within it, and I'll talk a little bit about how they're put together. But even the diploma, the one-year degree, has 40 days of field work in it. So each subject, some subjects don't have as much field work, but some have 9 or 10 days of field work within them, where we're travelling around the state during the semester and actually learning in those places. So we teach in the way that we would like, or we're suggesting is a great teaching approach for the students once they leave as well. And again, just Tasmania, I can't think of a better place to be able to teach and a better place to be able to share stories, get to know people, and really think deeply about what we're trying to do, actually try and make real change in the world through educating others outside in a really unique, distinctive kind of place. So I'm not quite sure what screen people are watching on, and I'm hoping that many people will be able to kind of see this. But if you can't, I'll talk through a little bit of it, because I think it's quite important to understand how it's put together, because it also shows the pathways which are available for students, and I guess an opportunity to understand why we've put it together in this way. So you'll see the red line around the year 1 subjects, semester 1 across the top, and the next line down is semester 2. That red line around really represents actually the Diploma of Nature-Based Guiding, which I'll talk about after this very briefly. But essentially that 1 year is nested into the 3-year degree of Outdoor and Environmental Education. And 6 of those subjects are new, the ENV subjects: Introduction to Field Experience, Tasmanian Coastal Ecologies, Environmental Interpretation, Safety and Leadership, Bush Environments, and Introduction to River and Alpine Environments. Each of those are highly experiential, and as I said, 40 days of fieldwork inside those as well. The 2 subjects on the right-hand side are existing subjects at the university that are incredibly they're brilliant. They're brilliant subjects, really, and we've chosen them for that reason. But we've also chosen them because what we're looking to do here throughout the 3-year course is have 4 subjects which set up a system for being able to teach geography or humanities and social sciences. So when students finish here, this 3-year degree, they would have at a minimum 2 teaching streams, which is what's required for entering into the Master of Teaching. So they have outdoor education and humanities and social sciences. So we've got those 2 subjects in first year as well. And really, not only do we're working with the Introducing Indigenous Life Worlds, but each of the other subjects, like Tasmanian Coastal Ecologies, includes field trips like Tasman Peninsula or over to Maria Island. Each time we go to these places, we really are seeking to work with and kind of, where possible, co-teach with, but have input from as well, Palawa practitioners, elders, and community members, to be able to introduce those places, to be able to tell those stories, and to be able to kind of, not only is it place first, but it really will be set up like that as a kind of a first approach to each of the places that we go. So that's a strong theme through there in the first year, and I think it's a strong element within education in general, I think, as well in the coming years. So this is a great opportunity to really put that into play. You'll see in year 2, there's also two more outdoor journeys and river environment subjects, very practical. There's an intermediate core option here, and that really depends on what students would like to do in the future. There's enough what we call KGA subjects or geography subjects in there to actually ensure that we have the 4 humanities or geography subjects that sit inside there. Alternatively, there might be some students who are saying, well, I'm not too fussed about that. What I would really like to do is just specialise in the outdoor adventure guiding kind of area as well, but I would like to keep going with the degree. And in that case, there are other subjects in there, health, wellbeing and natural environments and outdoor journeys B, which students can choose as well. And then in third year, we really are, our third year students will be able to go out, work with the school, put together a program in teams of 3 or 4, partner with the school and actually run a program for 3 to 4 days with the school. And some will do primary school, some will do high schools, and also do some near peer teaching, which is where the third years are actually working with our first year students to introduce them to places and work with them in river environments with kayaking or coastal environments with sea kayak and things like that as well. So that's really what we're looking at in third year. And then you'll see there's 8 elective places there. They are university-wide electives. Students are free to choose the electives that they would like. But we've done it in this way because it also provides the opportunity for people who would like to do Master of Teaching afterwards as well to come up with an extra teaching stream. So in Master of Teaching, if you have 4 subjects or a minor, for some teaching streams like English, or arts, things like that, you're able to actually make use of the 4 subjects to have an extra teaching stream. So students could come out with more teaching streams, which would be, hugely advantageous for teaching in schools. For example, you could choose 4 mathematics subjects and do middle school mathematics as an extra teaching stream in the Master of Teaching. You could choose English literature and do that as well. Alternatively, there are some fantastic electives across the university, and I'll just highlight a couple which I'll talk about, just show a slide about later. But one is UniGo, for example, which is a double subject. It uses 2 elective subjects. It runs over summer, usually between first and second year, I'd suggest, and it's a 3-week international subject where you actually travel overseas. And what that would do is it'd be a summer use of 2 electives, and then it would reduce your load during year 2 to probably have 3 subjects in each semester, giving you a great chance to kind of extend yourself or if you need to be doing extra work and those kind of things. So they're all great options. There is also an outdoor elective subject for longer journeys in third year as well. So there is a variety of subjects. So that's the actual 3-year outdoor and environmental education degree. The next slide I'm going to show rearranges just the 2 subjects on the right-hand side in first year and slides them into second year, and it looks like this. The reason that we've done this is that some students would like to specialise for teaching in outdoor education, but also in science. And science is a particular area where if you would like to do science as a teaching stream, you really need to have a full major or 8 subjects. UTAS has some incredible science degrees. It's got the marine science and work with IMAS, but also ecology and biology, things like that. So you can choose a major. You might also choose a major in, again, something like mathematics, English, arts, something like that. So when you come out of this degree, you're even more ready, confident and qualified to be teaching in those areas when you come out, and might be more likely to work in year 11, 12 kind of colleges teaching in those areas as well. So although the subjects there are the same in terms of the core subjects, the green ones, they've been slightly rearranged, which is fine to do as well. There's no strict idea. The rules for the course are those three things on the outside: core, core option, and elective. So it's a really flexible course in terms of that area. It does have a strong fieldwork, which I've already spoken about. It's got, I'm just highlighting a few things there. It's got 2 outdoor journey programs, which would have 8 to 10 day journeys inside them in iconic kind of Tasmanian locations, but we're really looking at interpretation, leadership, safety, all those kind of things inside it as well. There is a double subject of environmental fieldwork extension, which could take place. It would depend on the kind of year group and what we were doing, but it could involve something like the Franklin River or a kind of sea kayak trip in Bathurst Harbour or a longer walk. And then there's international mobility. This is the international subject that I was talking about as well. And really here we're focused on the idea of global environmental issues, sustainability, but also potentially education. So being able to go to some of these countries in Southeast Asia and work with a different kind of cultural approach potentially to education and sustainability, and make a contribution there, but also probably bring back some really fantastic and great ideas. We've got some really incredible examples after last year. So that's the main 3-year course. I won't say a lot about the next one, the Diploma of Nature-Based Guiding. It's the nested course which sits inside. You get 100% credit when you come into the 3-year course if that's what you decide to do, but it is very much a standalone course. We have also set this up for potentially people who have already been guiding for a few years and would like to perhaps put a more formal kind of qualification around it, maybe think about starting their own business, but also for those students who might be interested in getting into nature-based guiding to take a much higher level approach to a kind of what environmental interpretation or potentially really nature-based education or experiential education might look like and how they might be able to frame their own practice, their own career in guiding or their own career in setting up a tourism operation. So a much deeper kind of understanding of these areas. You'll notice one difference, there's an introductory core option. So normally that would be the global geographies of change, the geography subject, but for some students, they wouldn't be looking at necessarily looking at the teaching option afterwards. So inside there, we've put applied business foundations for those students who are really coming in to say, yep, I love working in the industry. I'd like to formalise my qualifications. I'd like to get a bit more of an understanding about how industry works. And then I'm thinking about setting up a small business of my own in tourism. I have to say Tasmania's got incredible potential for setting up these nature-based tourism ideas. And many of the very large operations that we see now are really just starting out from 1 or 2 people, starting out at running tours for 4 to 6 people or 10 people when they can, and then over the years building them up into being incredibly successful businesses that make a huge contribution and really allow them to kind of leverage these things. It's not only the case in Tasmania, and nearly all the people who have set them up in Tasmania have started out in a fairly small way. Many of them have come through similar kind of courses to this. But on the mainland, many Tasmanians who have come through systems here as well have started up some of the most successful nature-based guiding operations in Australia. So I think that's huge potential as well. And again, really speaks to the kind of distinctive and unique ideas that are here. And we have a really strong tradition in parks of interpretation and in nature-based guiding as well. Right. So those are the first 2. They're open for applications in very shortly. And I'll talk about that as well in a moment. And the third option I want to talk about here is the vertical double for the Bachelor of Outdoor Education and Master of Teaching together. There is nowhere else in Australia where this can be done in 4 years. And that's really what we've done. And we've done it by careful planning with the kind of structure. So if you think back to the original structure of the 3-year degree, you remember there was 8 electives. This is an example of what it would look like if somebody was to do Bachelor of Outdoor and Environmental Education and a Master of Teaching in primary. They would simply use those 8 electives as the first year of their Master of Teaching. This is the primary version. We are putting together a secondary one as well. So to get into this, you would enrol in the 3-year Bachelor of Outdoor Ed, and provided your results are good at the end of first year, then you would be able to enter into this what we call a vertical double. And at the end of 4 years, you would come out with a Bachelor of Outdoor and Environmental Education and a Master of Teaching. So there's really nowhere else where you can do a course in less time than 4 years for an initial teacher education course. And in this one, we're able to offer 2 degrees within that 4 years, and one of them is Master of Teaching. And it's quite an experiential and kind of groundbreaking kind of idea of what education might be, and you'd come out with geography and outdoor education as well. So it's a shorter version, and I've actually spoken to quite a few people already who have said, yep, it looks amazing. We're still keen to do the 3 years and the 2 years because we just want the full kind of 3-year experience and all the electives to go with it and the different teaching streams. So it's a matter of people coming in and thinking flexibly about how they might like to come out. But this would be the fastest pathway out in terms of actually coming out with an initial teacher education qualification as well. And, that professional experience takes place in schools with outdoor education classes, and students would very quickly find themselves in that kind of teaching position. They'd be doing that in year 3 and year 4. So entering into that area with a lot of confidence, I think, and ability to look after classes. So that's the overall structure. Things are up on the website now. There's a landing page here for outdoor and environmental education at UTAS in general, and also inside that, if you scroll down, course pages for the Diploma of Nature-Based Guiding and for the Bachelor of Outdoor and Environmental Education. And the Master of Teaching just takes you to the education page in general, where you can have a look at the Master of Teaching, because that course will actually open kind of as people progress through the first year of the course. So that's the landing page, which sits there at the moment. I have to say, if you've enjoyed the last few slides with the kind of I guess the kind of graphics of how the course works, things aren't always that easy to interpret on the website, and it does take a bit of digging through to kind of see how the course structure works. But on the right-hand side, in a few days, we'll also have some course planners up, which will mirror exactly what you've seen with those 3 courses there as well. I just want to say as well that with the flexibility of the programs, but also the outstanding staff that are available in Tasmania, we have many people with strong outdoor backgrounds in Tasmania, including people who work consistently in Antarctica, who guide all around the world in different areas, and a lot of people choose to live in Tasmania, and a lot of people have worked in outdoor education for many years in Tasmania as well. So we have great access to staff to work with our students, but also through kind of, I guess, workplace link-ups as well. We really are focused on place-based learning, but we feel really supported at UTAS by that, because that really is the mission for the university in many ways, is to work with the unique distinctiveness of Tasmania, and that's really what we're trying to see as our, one of our major kind of assets. And the other thing I'd like to say is we're trying to build a real community. So the reason that we've got the common first year in all 3 degrees is to build a sense of community amongst our students, a real kind of cohort of people that know each other, that meet each other for classes, that go on trips, that know their lecturers, that know their staff, and that at the end of first year are really well bonded together and able to make good decisions, but also happy to come to university to mix with other classes after first year as well. And that's one thing that we really see as a key kind of asset. We've also, because we've started from scratch, we've had an incredible opportunity to put together a course in a way that we think will work really well. So what we're thinking about is a general kind of week is students would have lectures, tutorials, workshops, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and they would all be finished by 3 o'clock on Wednesday. And then from Wednesday afternoon, Thursday and Friday, and potentially weekends on some times of the semester, we would run the field experience. Now that could be day trips, but equally it could be a trip that leaves Wednesday afternoon and comes back Sunday evening. And then, the next 2 weeks we might find that there's no field trips and students have got more time to be able to do other things. So we're thinking Monday to Wednesday for classes, Thursday, Friday, field work, and potentially the weekend as well. And that gives us great flexibility. And it's another good reason to put all of our subjects kind of as a kind of single cohort. We're able to do that with a timetable relatively easily in first year. So that's great. And, we just have such good access to places in Tasmania to be able to do that kind of outdoor learning. We haven't, quite exactly finalised where we'll be locating the course specifically in the classrooms as yet, but we're certainly going to be running it out of Hobart, and we're working towards the idea of actually being able to work on the domain quite a bit. This is one of the buildings which sits up on the domain in Hobart. It's got incredible access to the parklands around the domain and some of the incredible intact pre-colonial grasslands, but it's also got access to the river and great view of the mountain and kind of a great starting point for many of our trips. So we're working towards being able to have a kind of central facility. This is the Philip Smith Centre there, which is one of the buildings which has recently been refurbished for teaching in. And what we'd like to be able to do is actually run most of the subjects out of one area. So students come there, they know the place, they're able to mix with each other, and we can teach indoors, we can teach outdoors, but it's got a real sense of community as well. So that's what we're working towards. But wherever we do it, we will put together a real sense of place where students work in the same place with each other and really develop a sense of, I guess, belonging in the course and belonging at UTAS and in Tasmania and getting to know their kind of industry partners at the same time. So that's our kind of sense of place idea. We're putting together a lot of the kind of larger equipment that might get used, things like rafts, kayaks, tents, things like that. We'll have resources for those and also kind of transport around for the field trip. So that's all part of the course. These 2 courses are the ones that are open immediately to enrol into, really. And I just want to talk very quickly about the school recommendation program, which I didn't really know a lot about until this year. But it's an incredible opportunity for students to apply early and get a recommendation through their school rather than necessarily using their final ATAR or having to wait until their final exam results are finished up. Greg might say a little bit more about it at the end, but I think it's an awesome opportunity because in this kind of course, we are looking for the same kind of things which students are recommended through, which is ability to work with other people, work ethic, those kind of things as well, are huge contributors to people that will make incredible educators and incredible guides into the future. So that's a great opportunity. Students can access that program from the 27th of June, so in about a fortnight's time. And then places are offered earlier, around about September, October, something like that, so that folks have I guess, a sense of knowing that they've managed to get into the course. So that'd be I really, if anybody knows people that are thinking of doing the course, I would highly recommend having a look at this school's recommendation program. And there's a link to it down there, but if you just put in school recommendation program into a search for UTAS, it'll come up. It's got all the kind of thing that goes with it. If it was after that, still working through the kind of ATARs because it's a first year course, they're likely to sit around something around 50 for the diploma and 65 for the guiding, but we do have other entry pathways. So again, I still recommend that school recommendation program. I think it's a fantastic program, but also on the website at the moment, there are 2 course pages. And on those course pages, it actually says that the 2 courses are not eligible for Commonwealth supported places. That's not the case. They are eligible and they will be eligible from the 1st of July. So there's a bit of a system where the computer web pages are automatically filled. And because the course is new, those Commonwealth supported places for this course aren't released until July. So that will be updated in July. It's completely eligible for Commonwealth supported places, for HECS, for help, for all the things that we would normally have, or you would normally have access to for the courses. So that's all there. There is great support to study at UTAS at the moment. And I can only just encourage people, if you're thinking about doing it, get on and apply. Don't know until you give it a go. There's great opportunities, very easy to apply for scholarships. Many of those scholarships are to do with living away from home, travel, diversity scholarships. So they're available there as well. Definitely get on and have a look at those if you're thinking about doing the course. UTAS does have great support for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders through the Riawana Centre. It's been around for a very long time, offers great support, and really we are seeing a huge opportunity here for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students within a course like this, because many of the outcomes will be really great in terms of careers as well. So just as an aside there, we are really trying to work as much as we can, and even in the design of the course, just to acknowledge really the generosity of some Indigenous scholars and community members who have had input into the course already. So just I think it's a great opportunity, and it's certainly a focus into the future, I think, as well. Last couple of slides here, just to reiterate this opportunity to do UniGo. It's a double subject. The university pays for the flights, accommodation, visas, insurance, and you get to experience a different cultural approach really to either education, sustainability, or environmental connections as well. So I think that really is a great opportunity, and it's eligible for all students who enter the course. We do have optional fieldwork electives in the course, which would be that kind of longer, more remote, but also the kind of fieldwork extension, which is also very place-centred. So if we think about something like the Franklin, which would give people a huge sense of confidence about being able to work on rivers in Tasmania after you've been doing the course for a few years, it also has these kind of cultural ideas which flow through it as well for Indigenous knowledge and understanding, but also for a political and recent cultural experiences of the politics of the damming and the Greens and things like that as well. So we're really looking at these places as places where we can learn really broadly, but through these places and what the places themselves have to offer. Couple of extra things in here. In first year, there'll be a wilderness first aid course. So that's available in all 3 of the degrees, part of the safety and leadership component. So for those folks who are working in the industry, they know how important it is to have that. So that's one of the external accreditations. And also for those folks doing the 3-year or the 4-year, we would have access to the Paddle Australia flat water or whitewater guiding or instructor kind of certificates as well. So we'll be putting in opportunities for those. There's quite a lot of paddling one way or the other. It's not the sort of course where we're expecting people to do the adventurous things and to have to go kayaking. When we do river things, we're looking at how to travel down a river. So people may choose to do it in a kayak, could be an inflatable kayak, could be a raft as well, could be running a walking trip through urban areas and rivers and things like that as well. There's opportunities for all sorts of experiences and ways of learning. Another great, I mean, just to reiterate really that many of the people who have come through things in Tasmania have set up their own companies. This is Toby Story, who runs an operation as well, which is fairly global now, and people who are keen to work with us and work with our students as well to offer what they've learned over the last few decades as well. So takeaways from this talk I'm really hoping for is that there really are 3 new amazing courses, which are new, but they're also deliberately structured in a particular way. If you're interested, take a look at the school recommendation program, which opens on the 27th. If you've got any questions at all, feel free to get in contact with me. I'm easily available on the website. I'm more than happy to visit schools as well, and I've got an email there. I'm more than happy to do anything. And if you can spread the word, that would be greatly appreciated. And that is all from me. I might invite.
Fantastic, Marcus.
Thank you. Stop sharing.
No problem. Look, there's a couple of questions I'll throw to in a sec, but one of the things, so we are, in terms of your student mix, the SRP is open for Year 12 students, but we are always welcoming of our adult learners or mature age learners. And the best sort of classes in this particular environment are a mix. So we're not hoping or streaming to get a particular area. We are looking for a mix of generations, because that's also one of the best ways of learning. And Marcus, is there anything you want to add to that from your teaching background?
Yes, absolutely. And where I've taught in similar kind of courses on the mainland, the mixture between adult learners and school leavers is fantastic. I have to say, there are a lot of people who see this as a way after they've come out and taught, not taught, but after they've come out and worked in different industries for 5 years, 10 years, or even 20 years. They think, right, I really want a bit more out of life, and I'm really interested in education and giving something more. I'm interested in working outdoors, or I'm interested in sharing what I know. And I have to say, some of the mixtures of adult learners in particular are things like paramedics, people who work in hospitality, but also trades. And we even had doctors and things come through before and just say, this is what I want to do with the next 20 years of my life. And that's what I want to do. So, people who have never been to university before and they see this as a way in. So absolutely. And there's, I think, the numbers at UT has, particularly in education for mature age students, are quite high. So
absolutely. And one of the, to apply as a mature age, we're all mature, but as a non-school leaver, you can apply just directly through the website. So so the students will, and that will then, your application will go into what we call our admissions team, and then they will set you up within the university and will contact you and help you get through the system. A couple of questions before I come back with some final questions for you, Marcus. The longest 7-day trips, the 7+ day trips, are they in the uni semester? Are they during the semester, mid-semester breaks, or what sort of timing do you have on those?
Yes, at the moment we're looking at the mid-semester break actually for the 9-day trips in particular. So that's where we'll be looking at doing that. Where they were extended trips beyond that, we'd be looking probably a week or two after the end of the semester to be able to fit those in. But certainly in first semester, the journey trip looks to be best fitted into the mid-semester break in terms of timing and
yes,
for where we'd like to go rather than the middle of winter. It's possible that some of the other things, like if we did end up with a kind of an extended trip like the Franklin, that's much more likely to occur in November, December kind of time.
No worries. And there's a question here, can the course be completed as a double degree? I'll just, with a caveat, yes, but it depends what the double degree is always going to be an answer to that, depending on what that second degree might be. Marcus, is that correct? That's generally the UTAS approach.
Yeah, that's generally the approach. I would love to try and make it work if it was possible, for sure. And we work very hard to do it. But it'd have to be on a kind of case by case basis, I think.
Yeah. So what basically happens for the person that asks that question is you would apply. The admissions team would walk you through that in terms of the process, and then you would start the enrolment process. And again, the admissions team would hand you over to the enrolling team, basically. And there's a lot of assistance given through the process. It is all done online, but there are plenty of opt-outs and requests for help. Marcus, in terms of someone returning from the workplace, being concerned about the theory, that, I haven't studied for a long time, not sure how I will go. Do you just want to talk a little bit more about that balance between theory and prac, and also the assistance given to someone who may need a bit of a refresher in that theory work?
Yes, absolutely. That's what we really would be doing, certainly in first year. That's really our approach, is understanding that's who a lot of people coming into the course would be, and that's great. It's a very applied course, and it's very much a course based around the idea of introducing ideas and theory, but then talking them through and having a dialogue about them. I would have to say, for me, I currently work in the Master of Teaching as well, and I can't stress enough how valuable it is to have the addition of perhaps non-school leavers to come in and offer some of that life experience, because a lot of what we're looking at in terms of theory is psychological theory or attention restoration theory, or these kind of things which are I guess quite meaningful for those people that have had a wide variety of experiences in life as well, and are able to contribute some real applied stories and experiences of these things, and also see the importance of them potentially as well. So having the mixture of both is great. I personally went to university twice. I did the school leaver idea, and I have to say I got a great deal out of that, but I got so much more out of coming back to do my second degree, because I really knew what I wanted to learn, and I was able to really to get into it that way. So I think both things are there. For school leavers, I really think it's a great course because it teaches so much of the kind of teamwork and leadership and communication, environmental concerns, but I also think there's that other side of it as well. Sorry, my answer a bit long.
Fantastic. And another question: can you do the course part-time? And how does that look like? What does that look like?
Yeah, well, it literally looks like, usually for people that do part-time, they do 2 subjects a semester, and you would have the ability to choose which 2 subjects you did, or there'd be a preference to finish the first year subjects before the second year subjects. Some students do 2 subjects a semester, some might do 3, some might do 1 and then 3 and then 2 the next one, something like that. It's absolutely fine. The general idea for a course is that it's possible to kind of extend that part-time idea for your own flexible lifestyle. I would suggest probably doing 2 subjects a semester for the first 2 years would be a great way to do it, and then just see how you're going, because there's a bit more flexibility after that as well.
Fantastic. And in terms of location, it is Hobart based?
Look, it's Hobart based in terms of where most of the kind of lectures and tutorials and group work kind of happens Monday to Wednesday. The field work is really statewide. So if I was to pick a subject like river environments, for example, I know we'll be going to the northwest to the Cradle Coast to be working up there on the Forth River and the Mersey rivers as well, because they're such amazing environments. But really, in terms of the face-to-face work, it's a Hobart-based course.
So students would be encouraged to relocate.
Yes.
To be based
I think that's really a key part of it. Although to recognise also, I guess, that semesters are 13 weeks and there's 2 of them, and there's a lot of time to be returning home as well if there's other things at other times of the year as well. But yeah, certainly in my experience, it works best when people are within kind of an hour or so of Hobart.
Fantastic. I think that you have answered all of my questions. Is there any final comment, takeout that you would like to leave with the audience?
Just that I think it's like if we think about what's possible in Tasmania and what's unique and incredibly distinctive about Tasmania and where careers might go from here, then I think this is an area that I'm incredibly passionate about. I think it's a kind of growth area, and I'm very excited about it, really. So.
Fantastic. And look, I would also encourage everyone that's on the call to share the information. But also the point that I would like to just stress as well is that Marcus is makes himself incredibly available for inquiries, queries. I've put my email address in the chat forum as well. I work in the college in a more central role, so I can help you navigate the admissions process and that side of things. But please, if I could stress anything, it would be that if you have any queries at all, Marcus would love to have a chat with you. And again, our offer is always there if you are from a school or if you are from a business and you want more information, we'd be happy to come out and talk or have an online session. So handing back to Marcus.
I'll just say one more thing. I just read one of the questions in there about the Launceston thing. And it is possible, actually, Launceston is not that far away from Hobart, given that some of the things happen. And we certainly have courses now that run in Launceston where I have students, where I teach a Launceston-based course, where students travel from Hobart and just stay for a couple of nights a week in Launceston. So, there's kind of flexible arrangements around those things as well. But yeah.
Yeah, and look, if a student has an inquiry about that, probably best to have a chat on a case by case.
Sounds perfect. Excellent. Yep.
So we would like to thank you all very much for attending. This is being recorded, so I will be working with Marcus to actually host this and post this for you to be able to access and pass on to colleagues, friends, that you see fit. We are genuinely excited about this course. I think it just is so perfect for Tasmania. And thank you, Marcus, very much. It was a fantastic session, and we will catch you all around the traps when we see you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.